The Middle East, often marked by conflicts, sees Israel at the center of its most complex disputes. In a recent conversation, John Mearsheimer, a renowned political science professor, analyzed the critical state of the Israel-Palestine conflict. He noted significant escalations since October 7th, especially between Israel and Hamas, emphasizing historical missteps and policies that have led to Israel's current security challenges, calling it deep trouble. The roots of the current crisis can be traced back to the creation of Greater Israel, a term that describes Israel's control over territories, including Green Line Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank. Mearsheimer explains, Israel today is what I would call Greater Israel. Israel controls everything between the river and the sea. This control encompasses not only Israeli Jews, but also millions of Palestinians, creating a demographic and political challenge that has fueled the conflict for decades. According to Mearsheimer, Israel's leaders face four potential solutions for managing the demographic and political landscape within Greater Israel: creating a democratic state that includes both Jewish and Palestinians, establishing a two-state solution, maintaining an apartheid system, or pursuing ethnic cleansing. He notes, the first two options are off the table. They're not going to happen. This leaves Israel with only the options of apartheid or ethnic cleansing, stark choices that have shaped Israeli policy and sparked international condemnation. Mearsheimer's analysis highlights the historical precedent for these policies, pointing to the ethnic cleansing that accompanied the establishment of Israel in 1948 and the expansion of its territories in the Six-Day War of 1967. To create the State of Israel to begin with, you had to do massive ethnic cleansing. He states, emphasizing that these actions have left a legacy of resentment and instability that continues to impact the region. In the years since, Israel has reportedly clashed with Palestinian groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, as well as neighboring states, creating a cycle of violence and retaliation. Mearsheimer notes that the Israeli leadership, particularly Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, has historically viewed Hamas as a useful counterbalance to the Palestinian Authority, which supports a two-state solution. He explains Netanyahu was actually very happy with the fact that Hamas was run in Gaza because Hamas does not want a two-state solution. This strategy, however, has backfired in recent years, culminating in the October 7th attack by Hamas, which caught Israel off guard and escalated the conflict to new heights. The October 7th attack marked a turning point as Hamas launched a surprise assault on Israel, demonstrating a level of coordination and effectiveness that shocked Israeli leaders. Nobody thought what happened on October 7th was going to happen, Mearsheimer says, pointing to the complacency that had set in among Israeli officials who believed they had efficiently and effectively contained the situation in Gaza. In response, Israel launched a military campaign aimed at defeating Hamas and retrieving hostages taken during the attack. However, Mearsheimer argues that these stated goals mask a more troubling underlying objective: the ethnic cleansing of Gaza. The real goal is to ethnically cleanse Gaza, he asserts, arguing that Israel's military actions, including bombing civilian areas and restricting access to food and water, are designed to make Gaza unlivable and force Palestinians to flee. This strategy has faced significant challenges, as Mearsheimer notes. They have not defeated Hamas, and they're not going to defeat Hamas. Despite Israel's military superiority, Hamas's decentralized structure and deep entrenchment within Gaza's civilian population make it nearly impossible to eliminate entirely. Mearsheimer warns that this failure has left Israel stuck in Gaza, with no clear exit strategy and a growing humanitarian crisis that is drawing international scrutiny. Beyond Gaza, Israel faces a broader geopolitical challenge from Iran, which has long supported Hamas, Hezbollah, and other anti-Israel groups in the region. Mearsheimer describes the conflict between Israel and Iran as a shadow war, characterized by proxy battles and covert operations. He points to a series of escalatory incidents in April 2024 including an Israeli attack on the Iranian embassy in Damascus, which provoked a retaliatory strike by Iran. The United States is aghast, Mearsheimer says, highlighting the risk of a broader conflict involving the US, Israel, and Iran. The United States, wary of being drawn into another Middle Eastern war, has sought to mediate and contain the conflict, working through intermediaries to prevent further escalation. However, Mearsheimer argues that these efforts are not enough to stabilize the situation, and the underlying tensions between Israel and Iran continue to simmer. We're trying to put a cap on the volcano, he says, but warns that the region remains a powder keg with the potential for further violence. Mearsheimer's analysis paints a bleak picture for Israel, which he describes as the big loser in the ongoing conflicts. The return of Israeli troops to Gaza after their withdrawal in 2005 represents a significant setback. They have no way of getting out at the moment, Mearsheimer states, pointing to the lack of a coherent political strategy for what Gaza should look like post-conflict. Israel's troubles extend beyond Gaza, as it also faces a growing threat from Hezbollah in the north. Hezbollah has 150,000 rockets and missiles, Mearsheimer notes, emphasizing that Israel's once dominant deterrence capability is eroding. The continuous shelling of northern Israel by Hezbollah has faced tens of thousands of Israelis to flee their homes, adding to the sense of crisis. The growing international perception of Israel as a parish state, citing accusations of apartheid and genocide from organizations like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the International Court of Justice. Israel has effectively become a parish state, pointing to the damage to Israel's reputation and increasing isolation it faces on the global stage. The United States, while not directly involved in the ground fighting, is also a significant loser in the current conflict. Mearsheimer argues that the U.S. has long sought stability in the Middle East to focus on other strategic priorities, particularly the rising threat from China. We need a peaceful Middle East so we can pivot to East Asia, he explains. However, the ongoing conflicts in Gaza and the broader region have complicated U.S. foreign policy, forcing it to balance support for Israel with the need to maintain relations with other Middle Eastern states. Mearsheimer also points to the growing competition from Russia and China in the region, which are seeking to expand their influence at the expense of the U.S. We're driving the Iranians, the Russians, the Chinese, and the North Koreans together, he warns, suggesting that the U.S. could find itself increasingly outmaneuvered by its rivals if it cannot stabilize its position in the Middle East. While Mearsheimer is careful to note that Iran is not without its own problems, identifies it as the relative winner in the current conflicts, Iran has managed to leverage its network of proxies to exert pressure on Israel and the U.S. Without directly engaging in full-scale conflict, Iran got away with whacking Israel, Mearsheimer says, referring to the limited missile strikes in April 2024 that marked the first time Iran had directly attacked Israel without facing significant retaliation. Iran's growing ties with Russia and China have also bolstered its strategic position, providing it with economic and military support that helps counter U.S. sanctions. Iran now has very close relations with Russia and China, Mearsheimer notes, emphasizing the shifting power dynamics that are reshaping the Middle East. The conflict between Israel, Hamas, and Iran is just one piece of a larger puzzle that includes shifting alliances and the growing influence of non-state actors. Mearsheimer highlights the complex web of relationship that define the modern Middle East, where traditional state boundaries often give way to proxy battles and sectarian rivalries. You have these two big conflicts, he says, referring to the Gaza war and the shadow war between Israel and Iran. Together, these conflicts are reshaping the regional landscape in ways that are difficult to predict. Internally, Israel faces significant challenges that complicate its ability to respond effectively to external threats. Mearsheimer points to demographic changes, political polarization, and economic pressures that are straining Israeli society. This is a country that just has lots of problems, he says, noting that these internal issues are often overshadowed by the more visible military conflicts.
The long-term viability of Israel as a Jewish state is increasingly questioned. As Mearsheimer emphasizes, he notes the exodus of Israelis following the October 7th attack, with hundreds of thousands leaving the country out of fear and uncertainty. 500,000 Israelis left the country after October 7th. Mearsheimer states, highlighting the growing sense of insecurity that permeates Israeli society.
Despite the grim outlook, Mearsheimer acknowledges that there are ongoing debates about possible solutions to the Israel-Palestine conflict. The most commonly proposed solution is the two-state model, which envisions the creation of a sovereign Palestinian state alongside Israel. However, Mearsheimer is skeptical of its feasibility, noting Netanyahu and the Israeli elite have no interest in a two-state solution. Another proposed solution is a one-state model, which would involve creating a single democratic state that includes both Jewish and Palestinians. Mearsheimer dismisses this idea as equally unrealistic given the deep-seated divisions and historical grievances that define the conflict. I have no idea, he admits, when asked about the best path forward, underscoring the complicity and intractability of the situation. Mearsheimer's analysis paints a grim picture of Israel's current crisis, pointing to historical missteps, rigid policies, and geopolitical challenges. He warns, the world has changed in ways that are not good for either Israel or the United States. Ongoing conflicts in Gaza, tensions with Iran, and complex regional dynamics create an increasingly unsustainable situation. The future for Israel is perilous, with peace prospects distant. Mearsheimer's warning underscores the complicity of achieving stability in the Middle East, leaving the question, can Israel overcome the period of deep trouble or remain trapped in conflict and uncertainty?